The asteroid field was quiet, almost eerily so. Tiny fragments of rock floated through the void, glittering in the light of a distant, dying sun. Kieran Voss maneuvered his small salvage craft through the narrow gaps, eyes sharp and hands steady on the controls. Most pilots avoided this sector. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and far from any civilized system. But Kieran liked it. Danger meant opportunity, and opportunity meant work, and work meant he could do what he did best, fix things nobody else could. He scanned the field, his sensors catching movement. At first, it seemed like a drifting chunk of metal, a broken piece of some long-forgotten ship. But as he adjusted his sensors, the shape became clear. It was a massive starship, older than anything he had ever seen. Its hull was scarred and rusted, pocked with holes from meteoroid impacts, and it drifted silently among the rocks like a ghost. This is incredible, Kieran muttered to himself, adjusting his visor. The ship had a design unlike any modern vessel. Angular and powerful, built for war, but with a certain elegance that suggested the minds that created it were not just practical, they were artists of destruction. Legends spoke of these ships centuries ago, of fleets that could topple empires, but most had been lost in battles or abandoned in the void. This one somehow had survived. Kieran's heart raced. Most species would have looked at it and seen only scrap too dangerous to touch. But he saw potential. He always did. Where others saw trash, he saw a challenge, and he loved challenges. He docked carefully, the docking clamps of his craft gripping onto a protruding hull beam. The silence inside the ship was deep and heavy, almost sacred. Dust floated in the weak light from his suit's helmet lamps. He moved slowly, feeling the weight of history pressing against him. Every panel, every broken screen, every burned-out circuit board told a story, and Kieran was eager to read it. As he made his way deeper into the ship, his sensors picked up faint energy signatures, old, barely functioning. The ship's power core was damaged but intact. Some systems were dead, others flickered with life. Kieran knelt by the central console and ran a quick diagnostic. The results were messy, chaotic, but promising. "You're not completely dead," he whispered to the ship. "Just a little broken, I can fix that." It was going to take work, endless work, weeks, maybe months. He would have to patch systems, rewire circuits, and improvise parts that no one manufactured anymore. But that was fine. He liked the kind of work others avoided. The first problem came immediately. The ship's AI core was offline. Kieran opened the maintenance hatch and peered inside. The delicate circuits were fried, melted in places, but the design was brilliant. Even damaged, the AI architecture was advanced beyond anything he had ever seen. If he could bring it back, the ship would almost run itself. Almost. He worked for hours, carefully replacing circuits, repairing connections, and improvising with parts from his salvage craft. The AI remained silent, but Kieran didn't give up. "You'll talk to me soon," he said, smiling despite the sweat on his forehead. "You just need a little human touch." Day after day, he returned to the ship, sleeping in the cramped quarters of his craft, eating simple rations and focusing only on the work before him. He patched holes in the hull, replaced engines, and recalibrated weapons systems that hadn't fired in centuries. Every system he repaired was a small victory, and he felt the thrill of creation, of turning something broken into something alive again. One evening, as the distant sun set behind jagged asteroids, a small spark jumped from the AI core. Kieran froze. He held his breath, his fingers hovering over the control panel. The spark grew, circuits humming faintly, lights flickering in sequence. Then in a soft, almost hesitant voice, the AI spoke. "System online diagnostics required, identify operator." Kieran laughed, a mix of relief and excitement. "It's me, Kieran Voss. I'm here to fix you." There was a pause, a moment of digital hesitation, then the AI responded with a clarity that surprised him. "Operator identified. Systems in critical repair. Assistance required. Estimate repair time unknown. That's fine, Kieran said, grinning. We have time. With the AI slowly coming back online, the ship seemed almost to breathe around him. Lights glowed faintly along the corridors, and emergency systems began to hum. Kieran explored more of the vessel, discovering hidden compartments and storage bays filled with ancient technology. Some were weapons systems of incredible power. Others were navigation modules capable of mapping entire star systems in minutes. Kieran realized the ship had been more than just a warship. It had been a fortress, a mobile command center, a tool of unimaginable influence. And now, under his hands, it would live again. But not everyone in the sector was blind. Scavengers and pirates, attracted by the unusual energy signatures, began to watch from the edges of the asteroid field. They saw a human on a ship they believed was worthless and laughed. He won't last a day, they said, but Kieran didn't care. He wasn't doing it for them. He was doing it for himself and for the ship. Weeks turned into months. Kieran worked tirelessly, inventing solutions when no parts existed. He built new engines using a combination of scavenged components and experimental human designs. He rewired weapons to function with a new energy source. And he reprogrammed the AI to understand human logic, a step no alien engineer had anticipated. Finally, the day came when the ship was ready for its first trial. Kieran climbed into the bridge, sitting in the captain's chair, his hands resting on controls that hadn't felt the touch of a human in centuries. The engines roared to life beneath him, vibrations running through the hull. The ship hummed, alive and aware. He activated the navigation system and the AI responded instantly, faster than he expected. Operator systems nominal, ready for test run. Kieran smiled, heart pounding. Let's see what you can do. The ship moved, slowly at first, then faster as its engines adapted to Kieran's commands. It responded perfectly, almost eagerly, as if it recognized the human who had brought it back from death. Kieran guided it through the asteroid field with precision, weaving between massive rocks that could have shattered lesser ships. From a distance, scavengers watched in shock. The ship, long forgotten and believed useless, moved with unmatched grace and power. They had underestimated humans, and now they realized they had made a mistake. Kieran tested the weapons systems next. Energy pulses leapt from turrets, controlled and precise. Shields flared to life, adapting to simulated attacks he fired from his own craft. Every system functioned perfectly, better than anything he had imagined. By the end of the day, Kieran sat in the bridge, exhausted but exhilarated. The ship was alive, powerful, and responsive. But more than that, it was human, shaped, repaired, and enhanced by human ingenuity. He had done something no one else could. He had taken a forgotten relic of the galaxy and made it more than it had ever been. And far across the sector, rumors began to spread. A human had rebuilt the legendary ship. The stories would travel quickly. In a galaxy that thought humans were weak and primitive, Kieran had proven otherwise. He leaned back in the chair and looked out at the stars. "We're just getting started," he said quietly. The ship seemed to hum in agreement, ready for the adventures and battles to come. The galaxy had no idea what was awakening in the asteroid field. Kieran Voss stood on the bridge of Prometheus, the ship he had resurrected from decades of decay. The stars stretched endlessly outside the massive viewports, and the hum of revived engines thrummed beneath his feet. After months of painstaking work, the ship was no longer a ghost. It was alive, powerful, and almost eager to prove itself. "All right, let's see what you can really do," Kieran muttered. He activated the navigation system and plotted a course for uncharted space, far beyond the asteroid field where scavengers dared not follow. The human mechanic wanted to test every system, every capability, and to push the ship to limits no one had imagined. The first test was speed. Kieran engaged the newly engineered engines. The ship shuddered briefly as the AI calibrated output, then surged forward with an incredible acceleration. Lights streaked along the corridors, systems flickered as they adapted, and the bridge itself seemed to vibrate with raw energy. Prometheus moved like a predator unleashed, slicing through the void with precision and power. "Not bad," Kieran said, eyes gleaming. "Not bad at all." Next came maneuverability. Kieran steered the massive ship through a dense asteroid cluster. He had programmed the AI to adapt to human-style piloting, unpredictable and inventive rather than rigid. As they weaved between massive rocks, Kieran tested evasive maneuvers, sudden thrusts, and sharp rotations. The ship responded flawlessly, sometimes even anticipating his commands. "Wow," Kieran whispered. "You really want to show off, don't you?" The real test, however, was weapons. Ancient energy turrets lined the hull, long silent, their targeting systems frozen in time. Kieran reactivated them carefully, feeding them power through his new energy matrix. He fired test shots at abandoned satellites, watching as blasts cut through metal and rock with precision. "It's perfect," he said, grinning. "Every shot hits exactly where it should, and the range," he shook his head in disbelief. "This is insane." Kieran spent hours running simulations, testing shields, weapons, and propulsion. Every system exceeded his expectations, but he knew he needed a real challenge, something unpredictable. He couldn't test the ship alone. Out of habit, he activated the ship's communication array. His voice echoed across the sector, simple, direct, human. "This is Kieran Voss of the human species. Any ships in range want to test your luck." For a long moment there was silence. Then distant signals flashed across his console. "Pirates." Small, fast, lightly armed ships, curious about the unusual energy spikes from Prometheus. They had heard rumors, a human repairing a legendary warship. Most thought it was a bluff. Kieran thought differently. "Time to see how they handle reality," he said. The pirate ships approached cautiously, weapons ready. Kieran let them get close before he made his move. With a single command, the ship's adaptive shields flared, creating an energy bubble that deflected incoming fire. Simultaneously, turrets fired precise pulses, cutting through several pirate ships' engines without destroying their hulls entirely. The remaining pirates panicked, attempting to flee, but Prometheus pursued. Kieran guided the ship with human creativity, zigzagging sudden bursts of speed, feints that made the pirates overshoot their trajectory. Within minutes, the pirate convoy was disabled, their ships floating harmlessly in space. Kieran exhaled. Humans think differently. We don't fight the same way others do. We improvise, we adapt, and we survive. The AI, now fully operational, spoke. "Operator, adaptive strategies have proven effective. Probability of survival 100%. Enemy systems offline." Kieran smiled. "Not bad for a human and an old ship, huh?" But it wasn't just pirates who began to notice. The Galactic Council, always wary of unusual energy readings, picked up the anomaly. Reports spread. A human had rebuilt an ancient warship, and it was moving freely in dangerous sectors. At first, most dismissed it. Humans were considered a minor species, clever but weak, and no single human could threaten the galaxy. But these were rumors that refused to die. Kieran didn't care. He wasn't looking for recognition. He was testing limits, discovering what the ship could do, and pushing himself in the process. The next challenge came unexpectedly. While traveling near a neutral trading route, Kieran detected a convoy under attack by heavily armed mercenaries. The traders were slow, underpowered, and outmatched. Without hesitation, Kieran maneuvered Prometheus into view. The mercenaries saw a massive, sleek warship materialize from the void and immediately opened fire. Kieran reacted instinctively. Shields flared, energy cannons discharged, and the ship moved with a fluid grace no conventional vessel could match. The mercenaries fired in coordinated volleys, but the AI analyzed patterns and predicted trajectories. Kieran implemented countermeasures on the fly, creating decoy energy pulses and guiding the ship in ways that forced the attackers to overshoot. Within moments, the mercenaries' offensive was neutralized. Their weapons were destroyed, engines disabled, leaving them floating and powerless. The traders stared in awe, unable to comprehend the power they had witnessed. Kieran smiled and activated the comm system. "Everyone all right?" he asked. A shaken trader responded, voice trembling. I've never seen anything like this. What are you?" "Just a human," Kieran replied simply. "And my ship." The traders were grateful, but word traveled fast. Across systems, whispers grew. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and clever beyond imagination. They were not just a minor species. They were problem solvers, survivors, and innovators. And now they had a symbol, a single human commanding a legendary warship capable of incredible feats. Kieran spent the next weeks exploring uncharted space, pushing Prometheus further. He mapped hidden star systems, tested experimental energy weapons, and refined shield systems to react faster than any known technology. Every encounter reinforced a single truth: humans thought differently. They used creativity, intuition, and boldness where others relied on rules and protocols. One evening, deep in the void, Kieran stumbled upon a derelict fleet, remnants of an ancient war, abandoned for centuries. The ships were powerful, even in their decay, but scattered and unorganized. Most species would avoid them. Kieran didn't hesitate. He saw opportunity. Using Prometheus as command, he coordinated the salvage and repair of several smaller ships, turning them into an agile, well-defended fleet. The AI commented, almost amused, "Operator, this is unorthodox. Probability of success low," Kieran grinned. "That's why it will work." The small fleet became a testament to human ingenuity. Each ship was enhanced using Kieran's designs and human strategies. Coordinated maneuvers, surprise attacks, and inventive defenses turned a handful of old vessels into a force capable of defending entire sectors. And all the while, Kieran and Prometheus remained unmatched. Even pirates who once laughed at the human mechanic now avoided the sectors he controlled. Word spread among mercenaries, traders, and the Galactic Council. A human had risen, commanding a ship that seemed to bend rules, outsmart opponents, and survive impossible situations. By the end of Part 2, Kieran stood on the bridge, gazing at the stars. He had tested the limits of Prometheus, proven its power, and demonstrated the ingenuity of humans. But he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had noticed, and some were already planning to challenge him. Larger fleets, more organized forces, perhaps even the Council itself. Kieran's smile was calm, confident. "Let them come," he whispered. "They'll learn the hard way what humans can do." Prometheus hummed in response, engines purring like a living creature. The ship and its pilot were ready, and the galaxy was about to discover that underestimating a human was a dangerous mistake. And somewhere, far away, the first fleet of the Galactic Council began to move, tracking unusual energy signatures. They didn't yet understand what they were facing, but Kieran Voss and his ship were about to teach them. The hum of Prometheus filled the void, a steady heartbeat echoing through the corridors of the massive ship. Kieran Voss sat on the bridge, hands resting lightly on the controls, eyes scanning the star-studded horizon. He had tested the ship, mapped uncharted systems, and even defended innocent convoys from mercenaries. Every step had proven that humans could think differently, act unpredictably, and survive where other species failed. But Kieran knew this was only the beginning. Rumors had spread too far. The Galactic Council had learned of his ship, his victories, and his fleet of modified vessels. The Council prided itself on order, rules, and control over the galaxy. A human commanding a legendary warship was an anomaly, one they could not allow to continue unchecked. A soft beep on the communication panel drew Kieran's attention. A holographic alert displayed multiple incoming ships, council vessels, heavy cruisers, destroyers, all converging on his position. The AI, now fully awake and integrated with human thought patterns, analyzed the incoming fleet. "Operator," the AI said, its voice calm but precise. "Hostile fleet detected. Estimated strength, overwhelming. Probability of survival, less than 5% if engaged conventionally." Kieran leaned back, a grin forming on his face. "Then we won't fight conventionally," he replied. "Humans never did." He activated the tactical interface, plotting maneuvers that no standard warship would attempt. He would not meet the Council fleet head-on. Instead, he would use unpredictability, speed, and human creativity to turn their advantage into a weakness. The first ships appeared on the horizon, massive silhouettes against the blackness of space. They moved with precision, weapons charged, ready to enforce the will of the Council. Their commanders assumed they faced a human pilot with a small, powerless ship. They did not know Prometheus. Kieran initiated the first stage, disruption. Energy pulses from his ship emitted in irregular patterns, overloading the sensors of the approaching fleet. Targeting systems flickered, unable to lock on. Kieran's AI recalibrated Prometheus's shields and weapons to exploit the interference, creating zones of advantage around the ship. "Come on, think outside your programming," Kieran muttered. The ship responded like a living creature, engines thrumming in harmony with his commands. The Council's flagship fired first. Massive energy beams streaked toward Prometheus, cutting through the darkness. Kieran countered with sudden lateral thruster bursts, twisting the ship at impossible angles. The energy beams missed, grazing only the shields, which flared brilliantly under impact. "Predictive maneuvers activated," the AI said. "Operator, this is highly unconventional but effective." Kieran laughed softly. "Exactly. Humans survived by bending rules, not following them. He didn't just evade, he struck back." Prometheus's turrets fired in rapid succession, targeting engines, shields, and communications on the Council ships. Each shot was precise, calculated to cripple without destroying, forcing the Council fleet into disarray. Kieran used feints, sudden retreats, and bursts of speed that no AI-controlled ship could anticipate. Still, the fleet adapted. The Council's commanders realized this was no ordinary human. The ship itself seemed alive, responding to every strategy. Reinforcements arrived, larger ships, heavily armed, attempting to flank Prometheus and trap it. Kieran's mind raced. He issued rapid commands, sometimes contradictory, sometimes improvisational. The AI adapted instantly, translating human intuition into precise ship maneuvers. They dodged a flanking cruiser by weaving through an asteroid belt, then launched decoy drones that emitted energy signatures mimicking Prometheus, confusing the enemy sensors further. The Council fleet's formation collapsed under the pressure. Frustrated commanders barked orders, but every predictable move was countered by an unpredictable human solution. Hours passed like minutes. The battle stretched across the sector, with Prometheus striking, dodging, and outmaneuvering overwhelming numbers. Kieran's hands ached, his mind burned with focus, yet he never wavered. The thrill of survival, of outsmarting impossible odds, drove him forward. During a brief lull, Kieran analyzed the fleet. He realized the Council expected humans to operate under predictable logic. They never anticipated improvisation on such a scale. He devised a bold plan. Rather than destroy the fleet, he would force their surrender using strategy and psychological warfare. "Time to show them humans think differently," he said. He activated Prometheus's communication array, projecting a calm, confident message across the Council's comms channels. "This is Kieran Voss. I am a human, commanding the ship called Prometheus. You may have numbers, you may have power, but you lack creativity and adaptability. Withdraw, and I will not harm you. Challenge me, and I will demonstrate why humans survive where others fail. The council commanders hesitated. They had never faced a species that spoke with confidence backed by undeniable capability. And the damage to their fleet was growing. They could not predict the next move, could not anticipate the human strategy. Kieran seized the opportunity. He initiated a series of maneuvers that trapped the council ships in a carefully constructed zone of neutralized weapons fire. Energy fields, interference patterns, and decoys created a near-impenetrable barrier, isolating key vessels without destroying them. Within minutes, the largest ships were effectively trapped, their weapon systems overloaded or disabled. "Operator," the AI said, almost in awe, "you have forced surrender without firing a single destructive shot at most vessels." Kieran smiled. "That's human thinking. Outthink, outmaneuver, outlast. Violence only when necessary." By the time the council realized the scope of what had happened, it was too late. Their fleet was crippled, humiliated, and outmatched by a single human, and an ancient ship brought back to life. Communications from the flagship were urgent but cautious. They wanted to negotiate, to understand this unprecedented event. Kieran leaned back in the captain's chair. He could feel the ship's power humming beneath him, responding to his thoughts, ready for whatever challenge came next. Prometheus was no longer just a ship, it was a symbol. Humans were not weak. Humans were dangerous. Humans were unpredictable. But Kieran knew this victory would not be the last. The council would regroup, other species would test him, and the galaxy would send every challenge imaginable. Yet he was ready. Every battle had taught him more, sharpened his mind, and proven that human ingenuity could overcome even impossible odds. As he plotted a course back to the asteroid sector where his fleet awaited, Kieran reflected on the journey. He had rebuilt a forgotten warship, tested its limits, and faced the galaxy's most powerful fleet, and survived. The legend of Prometheus was growing, and with it, the reputation of humanity. In the quiet moments between stars, he allowed himself a rare smile. The galaxy might fear him, the council might underestimate him again, but Kieran knew one truth that no one else could challenge: humans adapt, humans survive, humans overcome, and with Prometheus they were unstoppable. The stars stretched endlessly before him, a canvas of possibilities. Kieran tapped a control and the ship responded, engines thrumming, shields glowing faintly. The galaxy had noticed, and now, every species would remember the human mechanic who had rebuilt a forgotten ship and turned it into the galaxy's most powerful weapon. And somewhere, deep within the council's command centers, advisors whispered, a single human could not be allowed to exist unchecked, but they underestimated the most dangerous trait of humanity: thinking differently. Kieran's eyes gleamed as he looked at the stars. "Let them come," he said quietly. "We're just getting started." The ship hummed in agreement, alive and alert, ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at it next. The galaxy had changed. The name Prometheus echoed across star systems, whispered in fear and awe. Humans were no longer seen as a minor species, weak and unimportant. One human, Kieran Voss, had rebuilt a forgotten warship, outsmarted fleets, and survived where others would have failed. The galaxy had finally learned. Humans think differently, act boldly, and survive against impossible odds. Kieran stood on the bridge of Prometheus, watching the stars streak past as the ship moved at top speed. His fleet, small but deadly, followed behind. Each ship was enhanced by human design and human strategy, coordinated in ways no alien species had ever imagined. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would never happen again. A soft alert sounded. Kieran checked the display. A massive fleet was approaching from beyond the uncharted territories. These were the remnants of an ancient empire thought extinct, long ago defeated and scattered. Yet their ships were intact, well-armed, and highly organized. They had come to reclaim the legendary ship and punish the human who dared to challenge them. The AI spoke calmly, almost reverently. "Operator, this is an extremely powerful fleet. Standard engagement would be suicidal. Probability of success, extremely low." Kieran smiled. "Then we won't fight standard. We're humans. We do things differently." He activated the ship-wide communication system, broadcasting a simple but firm message. "This is Kieran Voss, a human, commanding the ship Prometheus. You seek power and control, but you underestimate ingenuity. Withdraw now or face the consequences." The fleet did not respond. They assumed a human could not survive against such overwhelming forces. Kieran knew words alone would not stop them. Strategy would. He began his plan. First, he deployed decoy drones, small but equipped with energy signatures identical to Prometheus. The fleet fired blindly, wasting precious ammunition and revealing positions. Next, he maneuvered his fleet in unpredictable patterns, weaving through asteroid fields and gravitational anomalies to force the enemy into confusion. The AI calculated thousands of potential outcomes and adapted in real time. "Operator, these maneuvers defy conventional logic, yet effectiveness probability remains high." "Exactly," Kieran replied. "Humans were not bound by convention. They thrived in chaos." The battle began in earnest. The ancient fleet opened fire, massive beams tearing through space, yet Prometheus danced between the attacks. Shields flared, energy pulses redirected, and human creativity turned every disadvantage into a potential advantage. Kieran commanded with intuition, improvising solutions faster than any AI could predict. His fleet responded flawlessly, each ship executing complex maneuvers, striking weak points, and protecting the flagship without being directly commanded. Kieran had trained them in a way no alien species would understand. The secret was adaptability. Every ship thought independently but in perfect harmony, just as humans do. Hours passed, the battle stretching across the void. Kieran targeted the fleet's supply ships first, cutting off their ability to fight effectively. Then he disabled weapon systems and engines using precision strikes, leaving enemy ships alive but incapable of aggression. Every move was designed to win without unnecessary destruction, a human approach, combining efficiency with strategy. At one point, a massive enemy dreadnought broke through the perimeter and charged directly at Prometheus. Its weapons were powerful enough to destroy the ship with a single volley. Kieran's mind raced. Standard maneuvers would fail. He smiled. "Think differently," he whispered. He engaged the ship's ancient cloaking system, a technology he had revived and enhanced. Prometheus vanished from sensors, appearing behind the dreadnought. With a precise strike, he disabled its engines and shields simultaneously, leaving the massive vessel drifting helplessly. The remaining ships paused, confused and hesitant. "Operator," the AI said almost admiringly, "you have created an unprecedented advantage. Enemy fleet is paralyzed." Kieran leaned back, breathing steadily. "And that's how humans survive, by thinking differently, acting boldly, and never giving up." By the end of the battle, the ancient fleet was neutralized. Most ships remained intact but defeated, their crews stunned by the unexpected tactics of a single human and a resurrected warship. Kieran transmitted a message to the fleet: "Return to your systems. Live to fight another day if you can, but remember, never underestimate humans." For the first time, the galaxy truly understood. Humans were not just clever, they were dangerous when provoked, unpredictable when challenged, and unstoppable when determined. After the battle, Kieran returned to his fleet. He surveyed the small but powerful force he had created. Ships that others would have dismissed as relics now moved with purpose, equipped with human ingenuity and tactical brilliance. Kieran knew that humanity's place in the galaxy had changed forever, But power alone was not enough. Kieran wanted more than fear or respect. He wanted proof that humans could inspire others. He reached out to neighboring systems, offering assistance against common threats. Traders, miners, and smaller colonies accepted, grateful for the protection and guidance a human-led fleet could provide. Slowly, alliances formed, not through intimidation, but through trust and the demonstration of capability. The Galactic Council, still reeling from their humiliation, began to send envoys to understand this new reality. They had always believed humans were minor players, easily contained. Now they approached with caution, acknowledging that a single human and a legendary ship could alter the balance of power. Kieran received the envoys personally. Calm, confident, and unthreatened, he explained humanity's philosophy: creativity, adaptability, and courage. "We do not seek war," he said. "We seek survival and progress, but if challenged, we will always rise to meet it." The envoys listened, many in awe, some in fear. Kieran had proven that humans could not be ignored, and the message was clear. The galaxy must respect humanity or face consequences they could not predict. Weeks passed, and Kieran continued his work. He explored new systems, repaired ancient ships, and built a network of allies who trusted human ingenuity. The legend of Prometheus grew, a symbol of resilience and brilliance. Stories of a human mechanic who rebuilt a forgotten ship and turned it into the galaxy's most powerful weapon spread across star systems, inspiring awe and respect. Kieran often reflected on his journey. He had started with a derelict ship in a forgotten asteroid field, armed with only his knowledge and determination. Now, he commanded fleets, influenced alliances, and reshaped the perception of humanity across the galaxy. He had proven that even a single human could change the course of history. Yet, despite his power and influence, Kieran remained grounded. He continued to innovate, experiment, and improve. He treated Prometheus not just as a weapon, but as a partner, a living testament to human skill and creativity. The ship responded, almost as if it understood its pilot's vision. Together, they moved toward the unknown, ready for any challenge. And somewhere in the galaxy, empires, fleets, and races took note. Humans could no longer be ignored. One human mechanic had rebuilt a forgotten warship, and in doing so, had reshaped the galaxy's understanding of what humanity could achieve. Kieran looked out at the stars, the endless expanse of possibilities before him. "We've come a long way," he said softly, "but this is only the beginning." Prometheus hummed in agreement, alive and alert, ready for the next adventure, the next challenge, the next opportunity to prove that humans think differently, and that made all the difference. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a human. The galaxy had learned the power of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. And Kieran Voss, mechanic, strategist, and pioneer, had secured humanity's place among the stars, not through conquest alone, but through brilliance and determination. As Prometheus surged forward into uncharted space, Kieran smiled. The stars stretched endlessly, a canvas of possibilities, and he knew that humans, no matter the odds, would always find a way to survive, thrive, and rise. The galaxy would never forget the name of the human who rebuilt a forgotten ship and turned it into the most powerful force it had ever seen. And somewhere, far across the cosmos, the whisper began: "Beware the humans. They think differently. And when they do, nothing can stop them."